After dying of a serious illness, Aoki Matsudaira thought he had hit his luck and made a comeback, crossing from a flower grower to a neon. Until the year he went to junior high school, a family moved to the street where his home was located, with only a father and a daughter. Not only did they open a Maori Detective Office, but they were also named Maori Kogoro and Maori Lawn. This is the daily life of an ordinary person in the world of Detective Conan PS1. The protagonist's profession is a police officer, without the golden finger, unable to dismantle CPs. He is a fan fiction writer and the main character in an animated series. Some episodes may be skipped, but the female lead has been chosen as the new name Xiangbaoli, 1v1. If you don't like it, be cautious. PS2. Some detective dramas will be interspersed, such as Non-Natural Death, Police Station Search Class 9 Series, Police Station Search Class Chief, and so on. Keywords of the novel. My neighbor's name is Conan with no pop-ups. My neighbor's name is Conan. Download the full text of the text, and my neighbor's name is Conan. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Crosser Reference 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Crosser Reference 1. Stepping out of the cadre school specially established by the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, Aoki Matsu gazed at the blue sky and white clouds, feeling deeply moved that he had finally succeeded. At the beginning of his journey, Aoki Matsu thought he had traveled from a flower grower to a neon sign, and his name changed from the surname Ching to Mu Matsu to the surname Aoki and Song. Until the year he went to junior high school, a family moved to the street where his home was located, with only a father and a daughter. Not only did they open a Maori Detective Office, but they were also named Maori Kogoro and Maori Lawn. When Aoki Matsu heard his parents introduce him, he was completely dumbfounded. There is only one idea in my mind. The Eternal Reaper elementary school student. Oh my God, it's actually Detective Conan. As a child born in the new century, some may not have watched Detective Conan, but they have definitely heard of the title of Eternal Death Elementary School. It can be said that wherever you go, there are dead people. The only thing that gave Aoki Matsu a slight sigh of relief was that although the Wanyin Death God elementary school student died wherever he went, he had not yet killed the merchants and residents on the street of the Maori Detective Office. Occasionally, the only ones who caused trouble were customers and workers. Aoki Matsu must give 360 likes to his grandfather, grandmother, and parents in their eyes. From that day on, Aoki Song changed from his previous mischievous ways and prepared to eat together and die, and then inherited his family's 4 generations of Kanto cooking shops. Therefore, he was lazy and began to study hard. I'm really risking my life. Others work hard to study in order to get into a good university and a good job, while Aoki Matsu studies to save his life. Throughout the entire Detective Conan series, the only ordinary person with the lowest mortality rate is the small police officers led by the Mumu Police Department. Aoki Matsu studies hard to become a police officer, a subordinate of the Momo Police Department, or a superior of the Momo Police Department, so that as long as he doesn't intentionally die, his life is at risk. There is no way, as a traveler, the pine tree has no golden fingers, and almost everyone has a memorable experience. Before this, no matter how good the relationship was, as long as there was a word of disagreement, there would be a dangerous world where someone would commit murder. The best way that Aoki Matsu could think of to save his life was to become a member of the Mumu Police Department team. The president, celebrities, engineers, chefs. No profession has eyes, and the lives of police officers in the police department are even more secure. After learning about the details of the Neon Police, although there have been some changes in some parts of the world due to differences, such as the Death God, promotion not only depends on qualifications and exam results, but also on achievements. But roughly speaking, the goal of Aoki Matsudaira is to pass the Neon Monkey Class 1 exam and become a career group. The difference between the Neon Police career group and the non-career group is simply that the non-career group ends with the police department, while the career group ends with the police department. Aoki Matsu's goal for himself is to become a career group through the Neon Monkey Class 1 exam, and the bottom line is to become a quasi-career group through the Neon Monkey Class 2 exam. Simply put, the former refers to Shiratori Renzaburo appearing as a substitute for the police department, and 9 months later becoming a police department. The latter refers to Takashi appearing as a patrol officer, with a distant promotion. The former only needs to endure time and accumulate achievements, and then add a little luck, if there is a vacancy in the position, to gradually advance and become a high-ranking official in the police station. The latter wants to be promoted. In addition to achievements and qualifications, they also need to study at a police academy and pass exams. Is it better to be able to reach the target in one step? Although it is said that the pass rate of passing the Neon Official Ape Class 1 exam is less than 1%, Aoki Matsu was passed by various exams in the middle school and college entrance exams in his previous life at the flower planter, and in this life, he voluntarily took the exam and was not inferior to others. With the financial support of his family and Aoki Matsu's relentless pursuit of studies, he successfully passed the law department of Dongda University, then passed the Neon Official Ape Class 1 exam, and also passed the studies and exams at the police school and cadre school. Now, Aoki Matsu only needs to intern at the police department with a supplementary rank for 9 months before officially joining the police department, and will also be promoted to become a police department, on an equal footing with the Mumu Police Department. However, if you want to be promoted again, you don't know if you have to wait until the passing of time, because the Death God elementary school student has already made a brilliant appearance. This was during a phone call with his family a few days ago, when they heard gossip from their family. They thought Conan was the illegitimate son of Mori Kogoro. Taking back countless thoughts, Aoki Song packed his backpack and walked towards the station with his long legs, taking the subway home. When we got home, standing at the door, we heard the bustle of people in our self-operated Kanto cooking shop. Aoki Matsu opened the door and walked in, smiling as he greeted his busy grandfather and father behind the operating table. "I'm back. Ah-song is back." Grandpa Aoki Jiro smiled all over his face when he saw Aoki Matsu, his eyebrows smiling. Dad Aoki Chienya, who was serving dishes to guests next to him, turned his head upon hearing this and looked at Aoki Song at the door. His smile also widened a lot. "Ah-song," he said, "Grandpa, Dad." Aoki Matsu smiled and said hello to his grandfather and father. Then he greeted some of the frequent customers in the store, greeted his grandmother Aoki Ryoko and mother Aoki Momoyaka who were working as kitchen staff in the inner room, and went up to the 3rd floor to enter his room. He put on his backpack, changed into casual clothes, and then walked downstairs. Then I heard my grandfather blowing about himself with his acquaintances there. Aoki Matsu is no exception. Since he started playing hard, he has become like a child of someone else's family. With excellent grades, he was admitted to Peking University, passed the official ape exam, and secured a national iron rice bowl. He is also handsome. My elders often boast about themselves, and over the past decade, the pine tree has become immune. "Aoki, come over here quickly." Someone greeted him, and Aoki Matsu looked in the direction where the voice came from and saw acquaintances. Mori Kogoro, Mori Ran, and Conan. "Uncle Mori, Xiaolan." Aoki Matsu greeted with a smile and deliberately ignored Conan, sitting next to Mori Kogoro. "Uncle, what are you asking me for?" Mori Kogoro patted Aoki Matsu's shoulder and said with a smile, "Good kid, you're going to intern at the police station soon. Work hard in the future. A few days ago, I met Momo and mentioned you, he will take good care of you." "Uncle, thank you," Aoki Matsu said with a smile, and then poured a warm glass of wine for Mori Kogoro. "Uncle, I'll treat you to a drink today." "Okay." Mori Kogoro smiled at the words and picked up his small glass of wine before taking a big sip. "It's great. Kanto boiled liquor is a perfect match." After listening to this, Conan roasted in a voice that can definitely be heard by the pine tree. "Uncle, you just said that burning birds and wine are perfect. Stinky kid. Upon being exposed, Maori Kogoro immediately punched Conan's little head. Ha ha ha, for Uncle Maori, wine and anything he eats are perfect matches. Aoki Matsu smiled disapprovingly and looked at Conan. This little brother is. Muri-lan, who was standing by, wanted to introduce Aoki Matsu, but was caught by Conan. He looked at Aoki Matsu with a hint of caution in his eyes, and said in a tone of sovereignty that he had not even noticed before. Conan, big brother, my name is Idagawa Conan, and I am currently living with Sister Xiaolan. Aoki Matsu said with a smile, it's Mr. Conan. Please call me Aoki brother. Nice to meet you. Aoki brother. Conan shouted in a daze. PS1. OVA 6 tracks the disappearing gemstones. Conan, Pingxi vs. Kid, Xiaolan takes Conan to buy groceries, and there is gossip about the meat-selling aunt. Is Conan the illegitimate son of Maori Kogoro? So I'm not writing blindly. PS2. The new book is online, please take good care of it, little angels. The key points in this book are already in the copywriting section, so it is not advisable to enter them with caution. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Conan believes in his invincibility. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Conan believes in his invincibility. For a moment, Conan felt as if he had returned to a few years ago when he first saw Aoki Matsu, who also smiled and said the same thing. Conan knows Aoki Pine. To be precise, it was Shinichi Kudo who met Aoki Matsu. After all, when hearing her own Chinmei often talk about another person in a worshipful tone, especially when the other person is still a man, Chinmei is even more because the other person has learned karate. As someone who has recognized Maori Ran since kindergarten, Shinichi Kudo, as the Vinegar King of Asia, has no idea at all. Kudo Shinichi has secretly investigated the enemy situation for this. His family background is not as good as his, and he is not as handsome as him. However, even if Kudo Shinichi does not want to admit it, it must be acknowledged that Aoki Matsu himself is indeed very excellent, not to mention being at the forefront of academic performance. He has also won the National Karate Competition Championship, and his legend has been circulating at Emperor Dan High School to this day. And although he's not as handsome as him, he's just a little behind him, so he can still be considered handsome. But most importantly, compared to Kudo Shinichi, who made a name for himself by being in love, Aoki Matsu, who is humble, gentle, introverted, and polite, is more likable, especially among his elders. For this reason, Kudo Shinichi once listed Aoki Matsu as his #1 rival in love. However, after a period of careful observation, Kudo Shinichi realized that the other party was just a bookworm, focused on studying and taking the civil service exam, and had no intention of dating. That's when he finally calmed down. But now Conan remembers that in the past, he overheard an admirer confessing to Aoki Matsu, who refused. I didn't consider dating during my studies, would only consider it after graduating from college. Now that the other party has graduated from university and taken up a national iron rice bowl, they are starting to consider dating, and their partner will be almost subconsciously. Conan looked towards Maori-lan and saw her admiring Aoki Matsu, listening attentively to Aoki Matsu and Maori Kogoro's conversation, occasionally interjecting. Her cheeks turned slightly red under the yellowish light in the store, revealing the little girl's shyness. Damn it! Conan's blood suddenly surged, feeling as if his head was about to turn green. However, Conan turned his head and realized that now Aoki Matsu has become a police officer. Conan is too familiar with neon police officers, who are the tools he used to solve the case and end it with. The other party entered their area of expertise, where Conan firmly believed in his invincibility. Upon this thought, Conan felt a hint of excitement and anticipation in his heart. How to remove the halo of someone else's child from you after seeing me, and make you become a mediocre person, no longer eye-catching, no longer attracting Xiaolan's attention. However, as Conan's imaginary rival, Aoki Matsu was not even aware of it. After all, the official duo of Muri Ran and Shinichi Kudo were deeply ingrained in people's hearts, and he was not interested in breaking up each other. Moreover, during his 10 years as a neighbor, Aoki Matsu had already regarded Muri Ran as his sister. More importantly, Maori Lon is only 16 years old and still a minor. Be careful of the divine beast river crab. He is chatting with Muri Kogoro, listening to him boasting about his past work with the Mumu Police Department in handling cases. Speaking of enthusiasm, Muri Kogoro picked up his glass and drank the wine in one gulp, then loudly said, "Another bottle." "Dad, it's getting late, we should go back," said Mayalalin. Upon hearing this, Aoki Matsu glanced at his watch and said with a smile, "Uncle, it's almost 9 o'clock now. We're also closing. When I have time in the future, I'll treat Uncle to a drink and listen to his great achievements back then." There are many types of liquor shops on the neon side, and those that only sell liquor and serve dishes usually close around 9 p.m. Afterwards, the still open Jujyo hut has some characteristics of a traditional street, with the vast majority operating until 1 a.m., although it is said that there are also those that operate until 5 a.m. Upon hearing this, Mori Kogoro looked up at the clock hanging on the wall and confirmed that Aoki Matsu was not lying before speaking up. "All right, you kid must remember." Then he said to Aoki Jiro, "Give me another glass of wine mixed with broth." "Dad!" Maori Lon shouted in displeasure. "What do you know? If you don't want the last glass of wine mixed with high soup, what else should you eat?" "The last glass, this one," said Kogoro Mori. Muri Lon couldn't help but pout and said, "This is really the last cup." Standing behind the console, Aoki Jiro quickly took out a glass and poured in a little neon sake. Then, he added a spoonful of hot Kanto soup and sprinkled some 7-flavor powder on top before handing it to Mori Kogoro. Mori Kogoro took it over, tried the temperature, and took a big sip. "It's refreshing. That's the taste." Indeed, the soul of cooking in Kanto is the mixture of wine and broth. This time, under the supervision of Maori Lon, after Mori Kogoro finished drinking, he was ready to settle the bill and go home. Aoki Matsu stopped Mori Kogoro's checkout move and said, "Uncle, I agreed to invite you for this meal. Talking to you has benefited me a lot." "Aoki, how embarrassing," said Mayalalin shyly, as their family of 3 still ate quite a lot. "Xiaolan, Song said he invited us, so don't refuse." Previously, Mori-sang had many photos related to our family, and you also confiscated them. Do we still need to have such a clear argument between us? And now Ah-song is in the police station, just a meal, he can afford it. Aoki Jiro said happily. Mayalalin smiled awkwardly at the words and said, "Thank you very much for your hospitality. Kid, work hard in the police station. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me," said Kogoro Mori with a smile, patting Aoki Matsu's shoulder and laughing. "Hi, hi." Aoki Matsu responded and escorted the 3 of them to the door. After seeing off the Maori family, there were no more customers in the store. Aoki Pine hung up the "closed" sign before turning back. "Without guests, my family's speech became much more casual." As the head of the family, Aoki Jiro was the first to ask, "Song, what are your arrangements for coming back today?" "Tomorrow, I will report to the police station and conduct a 9-month on-site practice with the police rank supplemented by the police department. Then, I can officially join the police station with the police rank of the police department," said Aoki Matsu succinctly. Grandma Aoki Ryoko, who was helping to tidy up on the side, said with some concern, "I've heard that single police officers are required to live in single dormitories by the police station." "No, it's not true." Aoki Matsu went to learn about this matter, perhaps because the world is different, it's because this world is not like this, refer to Chiba, Shin, and Takagi. Those dormitories are given priority to police officers who do not have a residence in Tokyo. For someone like me who has a residence in Tokyo, the Metropolitan Police Department will not force them to do so, and even if I apply, it is unlikely to be approved because the housing is limited. That's good. Ryoko Aoki breathed a sigh of relief, thinking about it would make people unhappy if he didn't see his good grandson for several months. P.S. Muri Ran learned karate because she admired former national karate champion Satoshi Maeda. Here, I have changed it according to the butterfly effect. Muri Ran learned karate because she admired Satoshi Maeda on one hand, and the protagonist also learned karate. Conan only knows one thing but not the other. Besides, whenever there is anything different from reality, consider it my personal device or kushue. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Parents Under Heaven Are All the Same. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Parents under heaven are all the same. After joining the company, you must work hard, said Aoki Chinya with a slightly serious tone. Aoki Matsu responded with a smile and said, "Hi, Dad, I will work hard." After a pause, he said, "I have started working. Grandpa and Dad, you don't have to be so tired in the future." Although their Kanto cuisine is a decades-old shop, it is not a top-notch delicacy. Making money relies on sales volume, and if the catering industry goes through sales volume, it will be very difficult. Even though there are ready-made semi-finished products for Kanto, cooked meatballs and fish cakes, vegetables and meat still need to be made by oneself, and preparing dishes in the early stages is not easy. How old are you? You've started worrying about these things. Your father and I are not old yet, we can work for another 20 years, said Aoki Jiro with a smile, but his eyes and expression showed his joy. Who doesn't like filial piety from their own descendants? Grandpa, you will be 70 years old next year. Don't work so hard. I'm serious, police officers earn a high salary, and I can support you. Don't work so hard in the future, said Aoki Song seriously. On the surface, the salary of neon police officers may not be high, as the lowest paid patrol officer on the surface is only 160,000 yen per month, while the average monthly salary of neon police officers is 198,000 yen per month. Aoki Matsu joined with a police rank supplemented by the police department, which can be considered as the leadership level in the middle and lower levels of neon police officers. However, his monthly salary is only 230,000 yen, which is less than 3 million yen per year when considering hard wages. However, in fact, the actual salary received by neon police officers is very high from the perspective of ordinary people. Because in addition to the basic salary, neon also pays bonuses twice a year, namely the mid-year and year-end bonuses. The sum of the two bonuses for police officers is approximately 4.6 months of salary. In addition, police officers also have various allowances and benefits. For example, the most common types include housing allowance, holiday overtime allowance, shift duty allowance, holiday duty allowance, overnight allowance, transportation allowance, temporary paging allowance, and night special work allowance. Neon Official Ape has its own employee cafeteria, and the police station is no exception, and it is still open 24 hours a day. Although you need to pay for food vouchers yourself, the price is much lower than outside, and there are also benefits such as free tailor-made handmade suits with good materials. And as a police officer, when solving some special cases, there are also additional bonuses that can be obtained. As is well known, allowances and bonuses are the main sources of income. So overall, the salaries of police officers in the police station, even for newcomers, are close to 4 million yen in actual annual income and less than the expenses of regular members. In addition, as the length of service increases, the annual basic salary will also increase, and the income obtained will also be higher. The neon sign of this era, the income standard of Xiaokang's family, is that the total annual income of a family of 3 is over 4 million yen. Don't underestimate this number, because in general, the annual expenditure of a family of 3 in Tokyo is around 2.5 million yen. Their children don't attend private schools or remedial classes. This means that as long as they are frugal, police officers from the Metropolitan Police Department can have savings of over 15 million yen around the age of 30, and can settle down in Tokyo without pressure. Moreover, as a police officer, there is a possibility of promotion. If promoted to a position of department head or above, one will also be allocated free housing. A large independent villa. It's a truly unique large villa with a large courtyard and garage, not a single-family building. At this level of police officers, after retirement, there will also be companies closely related to the police station rehiring, and the related salaries are very generous and considerable. To put it bluntly is to give away money for free, ensuring that their quality of life does not regress due to retirement. The cost is that for these enterprises, the police station will give certain preferential treatment, but of course, the police station will not cover up for serious crimes. After all, it's a capitalist country, money can do many things. And this son, Aoki Matsu, only has 2 police ranks and 2 positions. According to the general situation of the career team, with just a little bit of luck, qualifications, and achievements, Aoki Matsu can sit up step by step. Therefore, even if you have just started working, Aoki Pine's annual income of 6 million yen is easy and there is no pressure to buy a house, so it is really not a problem to support the whole family. And this is also his reward for his family. You should know that Nihon, as a capitalist country, implements happy education. What is happiness education? Simply put, good college entrance exam content cannot be learned in high school, even students from private high schools must attend extra tutoring classes. As is well known, the law department of Dongfeng University is one of the most difficult subjects to take at Nihon University, and the Nihon Monkey Class 1 exam is also one of the most difficult exams for Nihon. Before success, the annual tutoring fee for the pine trees was around 2 million yen, which was a considerable expense. Without the support of his family, even if Aoki Matsu wants to roll up again, he won't have a chance. I'll take your filial piety, Aoki Jiro said with a smile on his face. If you really want to be filial to me, quickly find a granddaughter for me and have a great-grandson to take care of. Grandpa. Chingmu Song was speechless at the words. Is it difficult for all parents in the world to be the same? During the period of studying, be vigilant and avoid falling in love. But as soon as I graduate from college, I start various reminders to get married, and after getting married, there are various reminders to have children. This facial transformation speed is truly remarkable. Asong, your grandfather is right. Now that you have a stable job, you should also consider your personal life. Chingmu Taoxiang walked over and said with a smile. Before Chingmu Song could answer, he continued, Father, Mother, Husband, the food is ready. Let's eat it first and then tidy it up. Okay. Everyone directly pieced together the 2 dining tables in the store and used them as their home dining table. The layout of the Aoki family's houses is similar to that of the Maori family, both of which are 3-story commercial and residential integrated houses. The only difference is, firstly, because it is a self-operated bottom-floor shop, the stairs are set inside the house instead of outside. There are no outdoor staircases, so the business area of Aoki's shop is larger than that of Polo Coffee Shop, with a total of 8 bar seats and 8 small tables for 4 people. The second, and third floors are all residential areas. The second floor has 2 bedrooms, a living room, a small kitchen, a toilet, and a bathroom. The third floor has 2 bedrooms, a tatami bed, a toilet, and a bathroom. Even if Aoki Matsu gets married and has children in the future, there will be enough rooms to live in, which is also the reason why Aoki Matsu does not have the pressure to buy a house. Aoki Matsu helped his mother bring the food to the table. Because our family operates Kanto-style cooking, there is usually an unsold Kanto-style cooking dish for dinner. Other dishes will depend on the amount of unsold Kanto-style cooking and can be added as needed. There isn't much left in Kanto today, so there's also grilled fish. After clapping hands and saying the classic, I'm moving, everyone started eating. After finishing his meal, Aoki Matsu helped tidy up the shop. When he went upstairs, Aoki Jiro suddenly called out to him, "So, Grandpa." Aoki Matsu tilted his head and looked at him with some confusion. Aoki Jiro smiled and took out a key, placing it in Aoki Matsu's hand. "This is our congratulations on becoming a police officer," he said. Aoki Matsu lowered his head and saw a car key in his hand. P.S. The salary of neon police officers is written based on the 1990s, it's not that I haven't found the current data. The current base salary for the occupational group is 253,300 yen per month, while the non-occupational base salary is 219,300 yen per month. In addition, the income of Zayakeng Zijijia is 6 million yen, with expenses of 3.5 million yen. Children do not attend private schools or tutoring classes. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Is not the protagonist's destiny. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 is not the protagonist's destiny. Aoki Jiro was stunned when he saw Aoki Matsu and smiled, saying, "The license plate for the domestically produced Skyline 25 GT sedan has already been attached to you. It's parked next to your old car at home. If you go to work at the police station, it's better to still ride your bike." Upon hearing these words, Aoki Matsu was deeply moved. This was the deep love of his family. Without any pretense, Aoki Matsu firmly held the car key in his hand and sincerely said, "Thank you, Grandpa. Work hard." Aoki Jiro patted Aoki Matsu's shoulder before turning back to his room. Aoki Matsuki watched his grandfather go back to his room before going upstairs and entering his own room. He placed the car key in his hand on the desk, and Aoki Pine took out his pajamas from the wardrobe and went to take a shower first. After taking a shower and drying his hair, Ching Musong threw himself onto the soft bed, exhaling a mouthful of turbid air. The days of being nervous, struggling, and studying hard have finally come to an end. Thinking of this, Aoki Matsu couldn't help but grit his teeth at Kudo Shinichi, for which he sacrificed the days of sweet love between junior high school, university, and his lovely classmates. Falling in love will only affect his speed of reading. But it's a shame to have never been in love during my student days, despite having to do it again. For this, Aoki Matsushita made up his mind. If Kudo Shinichi could easily catch up with Muri Ran, his name would be written upside down. Even if Kudo Shinichi became Conan, Aoki Matsu did not change his determination. If he doesn't cheat his partner a few times on the path of love, Aoki Matsu can't let go of the resentment he has accumulated in his heart for 10 years. Fortunately, everything is now on track and there is no need to worry. Fantasizing a better life in the future, lying in bed, the green pine gradually fell asleep, and the dream was filled with beauty. The next morning, Ching Musong got up early and put on his sports suit. He went for a morning run outside and ran around before returning home. "Asong, breakfast is already ready," Chingmu Taoxiang said to her son with a smile. As Aoki Matsu closed the door, he replied, "Okay mom, I'll take a shower and come down to eat." "Do you want to bring a bento?" Chingmu Taoxiang asked. "I don't need it for now. Let's take a look at the situation first. Mom's police station also has an employee cafeteria." "Don't worry, you can't starve me," Aoki Matsu said with a smile. "I'll go up first." "Okay." After packing himself up, Aoki Matsu put on his suit, picked up his briefcase and car keys, and then walked down again. After finishing breakfast, Aoki Matsu went to the underground parking lot near his home, found the car that his family had given him, and drove to the police station. Police officers start work half an hour earlier than regular companies, starting at 8:30 a.m., but they also start work earlier than usual. But for criminals, as long as there is a case, they have to work at any time, so there is no clock in machine at all. After registering at the entrance of the police station, Aoki Song went to the Criminal Investigation Department to search for the office of the Forceful Criminal Investigation Department, where he registered his information before starting his internship. You need to fill out this onboarding form first. The other party gave a form to Aoki Matsu and said with a smile, although we already have your file, we need a more detailed information to search inside the class. Okay, Aoki Matsu took it over and lowered his head to see that it was indeed quite detailed. He sat next to the desk and filled it out. It was filled out in no time, and Chingmu Song was handed over to the other party. The other party took it over and checked it from top to bottom. After confirming that it was correct, they smiled and said, I will handle the onboarding procedures for you now. They then started operating on the computer. After a while, the other party looked up and said to Aoki Matsu, please come with me. The Moo Police Department, who forcibly searched the third series, has already arrived at the police station. Good as he spoke, the other party stood up and led Aoki Matsu to a large office next door. Opening the door, he saw a chubby figure sitting there. Momo Police Department, this is Aoki Jun who joined the internship today, said the other party to Momo Police Department. The Moo Police Department smiled and said, no need to introduce us. We are acquaintances. Chingmu Song also greeted with a smile and said, Uncle Moo. Since you know each other, I don't need to introduce them. The Moo Police Department is all up to you, the other person smiled and bowed. Just leave it to me. Aoki Matsu also bowed slightly to the other person, could you please? After the other party left, the Moo Police Department looked at Aoki Matsu with some emotion and said, you really passed the Class 1 exam. My dream is to become a criminal, and I will ask Uncle to take care of me in the future. Aoki Matsu bowed to the Moo Police Department. Officer Mu smiled and said, you'll probably take care of me from now on. Officer Mu is a quasi-career group, and his career is almost over, but Aoki Matsu's career has only just begun. Aoki Matsu smiled slightly at the words and didn't say much. Officer Mu then said with a slightly serious expression, you are now a criminal. In the future, when you are in the police station and handling cases, remember to call me the police department. It's important to handle matters on a business basis and call me uncle in private. Hi, police department, Aoki Matsu shouted obediently. Generally speaking, for newcomers, I would ask them to do some civilian work first, recording confessions, checking information, contacting other departments, etc., and then let them follow along with the police after becoming familiar with what the criminal law needs to do. However, I know you are different, and when there are new cases, I will arrange for you to go to the police. Is there any problem? Officer Mu asked. Upon hearing this, Aoki Matsu immediately saluted the Moo Police Department and said, no problem. He understood the meaning of Officer Momo in his heart. In fact, he was able to parachute into the Criminal Investigation Department to search for a class of forced criminals in the 3rd Department, thanks to his previous help in solving a case for Officer Momo, saving Matsuda Junpei, and gaining the trust of the police department before being arranged to intern in the 3rd Department. In general, even if a newcomer enters a search class, they are mostly assigned to either the 1st or 2nd Department of Forcible Crime Search, all of which are civilian positions in the office. Okay. Officer Mu was very pleased and then said, you know everyone from the 3 departments, but we still need to find an opportunity to hold a welcome party for you, but I'm afraid we won't have time in the next few days. Is there any case? Chin Musong asked curiously. Officer Mu nodded and then sternly warned Aoki Matsu, don't inquire casually about cases handled by others, otherwise it is easy to cause unnecessary misunderstandings. He knew that Aoki Matsu was just curious about joining the company, but others may not know, so he gave special attention to the other party. I understand, thank you for the guidance from the police department, Aoki Matsu said gratefully. However, Aoki Matsu slightly roast in his heart, it's true that he is not the fate of the main character. When he asked Shinichi Kudo, the other guy said it like a bean, but he was warned when he asked. P.S. The Nissan Skyline 25 GT sedan is a car owned by Takashi Takagi, Conan TV version of 12 Million Hostages in the Shockwave Police Station, with an estimated market value of approximately 2.6 million yen. There is no research on Japanese cars, but it can be clarified that Takagi comes from an ordinary family background, so the protagonist is assigned a car model driven by Takagi. The cars driven by others are either luxury cars or sports cars, which do not match the protagonist's family background. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Conan's deathly descending aura is too large. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Conan's deathly descending aura is too large. However, Aoki Matsu quickly understood what Officer Momo meant. It was to prevent others from misunderstanding him and wanting to take credit. Aoki Matsu can only say that he has thought too much about this. With the presence of Conan, the god of death, he doesn't worry about credit at all. If you want to make achievements, just keep an eye on Conan. After the old man Moo Moo's police department told Aoki Matsu some basic knowledge, they sent Aoki Matsu to the General Affairs Department to collect things. For example, police officers, entry and exit permits, pistols, walkie-talkies, suits, and so on. Currently, computers are not yet popular, otherwise one could still get a computer. After receiving the things, Aoki Matsu returned to the office, and Officer Moo Moo had already left. Aoki Matsu is not panicking either. Today is his first day reporting to the police station, and he usually doesn't arrange anything to familiarize himself with the environment of the station. Picking up a few recent newspapers, Ching Musong started reading them. The headline on the front page is that Yoko Okano's illegitimate meal broke into her residence and committed suicide. After reading the report, Aoki Matsu touched his chin and realized that this case had already occurred. For the first few episodes of Detective Conan, Aoki Matsu was still very impressed, and then came the case of an Italian bandit organization stealing a maple leaf gold coin worth 600 million yen. Why can you immediately think of it? It is precisely because I have a deep impression of this case that many protagonists in famous Kutongren's novels rely on this money as start-up capital to get rich. But Aoki Pine is not very interested in this money. Because he still hides 2 large travel bags of jewelry at home and doesn't know how to handle them. This is a treasure he found on a mountaintop after discovering that he had traveled to the world of Detective Conan and spent a summer searching the entire suburbs of Tokyo to confirm its authenticity. It was the episode where Dr. Aguri took Shixiaju to the outskirts for camping, and Shixiaju encountered a jewelry thief. The wooden stakes with the Big Dipper and W shape on the mountaintop have some obvious features. It can be said that he is open-minded when it comes to money, or it can be said that the poor have never seen the world before. Anyway, at that time, Aoki Matsu was extremely excited and took it back. Then I sat on wax. He couldn't explain these things to his family, nor could he find a reliable sales channel that wouldn't expose his identity, so he had to hide them in his room. Until now, Aoki Matsu has not figured out how to deal with those 2 large bags of jewelry. Now that he has joined the police station, this matter has become even more lackluster. If he doesn't do well, he will be considered a bribe and become a black police officer. I didn't think of a good way to dispose of my things at home. I'm not really interested in these 15,000 maple leaf gold coins and pine trees. Rather than secretly taking something that is difficult to handle, it's better to make a name for yourself, establish a firm foothold in the 3rd series, gain a certain say, and even receive bonuses openly. Well, in cases with huge property losses like this, usually after recovering the property, the parties involved will provide a portion of the amount as a reward, which belongs to the legitimate income of police officers. That's it. Aoki Matsu made up his mind. Now wait for this case to start, then go to the Tokyo Tower and wait for Conan and the 4 little ones. Just as Aoki Matsu was thinking in his heart, Officer Momo walked in from outside and shouted at him, "Aoki-jun." "Hi." Aoki Matsu quickly stood up and responded. "Sato and his team have just arrested a criminal and have been taken back to the police station. They are about to interrogate him. You can go and listen and see how they did it," said Officer Momo. Okay. Aoki Matsu replied. Then follow Officer Mu towards the interrogation room. Police department, what kind of case is this? Aoki Matsu asked. The burglar was discovered and attempted to kill someone with a knife to silence their mouth. The prisoner did not expect the other person to have learned judo, so he was directly subdued, said Officer Mu. Then, with a slightly relaxed smile, he said, this case is very simple and there have been no casualties. However, in addition to requiring the prisoner to confess and have the prosecutor's office file a lawsuit, we also need to interrogate the other party if they have any criminal records that we are not aware of. Upon hearing this, Aoki Matsu's mouth twitched. It turned out that the case without Conan, the god of death, was so simple and clear. It's not surprising that in the original work, except for a few detectives led by Conan, everyone else seems to be useless. It's not that our side is not capable, but that the enemy is too cunning. If you handle such simple cases too much, you will really be confused by high-intelligence crimes. For a while, Aoki Song didn't know whether to complain about Roast police officer's gradual waste or Roast's death aura was too big. When Officer Mizuki and Aoki Matsu arrived at the interrogation room, Mito Sato and Takashi Takagi were already sitting inside interrogating the prisoner. Officer Momo and Aoki Matsu did not go in to disturb each other, but stood at the door, looking inside from the small window, watching the other person interrogate. Sato Miko and Takashi have been working together for several months, one singing, fair-faced, and the other singing, red-faced. They quickly uncovered the culprit's background by dividing them into two parts. This is the first time the other party committed a crime, that is, the first crime was not an old fogey, so the first reaction was to kill people and silence them after the burglary was found. If you are an old fogey, you must run away. Even if you are caught, you will not want to kill anyone. Because the crime of burglary is definitely lighter than murder. A very simple case, Sato Miko and Takagi Shigekatsu concluded the case when they saw that the other party had not lied. Aoki Matsu observed and studied beside them, and only after the two were busy did he greet them under the guidance of Officer Mu. Sato, Takagi, you and Aoki are acquaintances, so I won't introduce them to you. Aoki will be interning in our department for the next 9 months, said Officer Momo. Aoki Matsu smiled and bowed to the two, saying, Sato sang and Takagi sang, please give me more guidance. Sato Miko and Takashi looked at Aoki Matsu with some surprise upon hearing this, bowing reflexively and saying, also, please give me more guidance. Afterwards, Miko Sato reacted quickly and said with a smile, Aoki-jun really did what he said. Last year he said he wanted to be a criminal, but this year he passed the Class 1 exam. You're amazing. She also took the Class 1 exam back then, but did not, so she had to settle for the lower difficulty Class 2 exam and became a quasi-career group. So Miko Sato knows the difficulty of this exam. As for why it can be immediately determined that Aoki has passed the Class 1 exam, it is natural that those who have passed the Class 2 exam are not qualified to directly come to the Criminal Investigation Department of the Police Department for the 3rd Department internship of the Forceful Criminal Investigation class. They all go to the police station below for internships. Aoki Matsushita smiled and said, if you're a man, you have to keep your word. By the way, Matsuda sang, did you also call the police? He was already transferred back to the security department before, said Miyako Sato naturally. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Packaging to become famous detective. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Packaging to become famous detective. Aoki Matsudaira looked at the expression on Sato Miko's face, which was very natural. There were no signs of shyness, sweetness, depression, or resentment in his relationship with Matsuda Matsudaira, but they were separated from each other. I couldn't help but raise my eyebrows. Saving Matsuda Junpei was not only an attempt to sell to police officers such as the Metropolitan Police Department, Megumi Officer, and Kono Kanagawa, but also an experiment by Aoki Matsuda. Matsuda Matsudaira survived, and Takagi was also transferred to search for the third department of the first class. Aoki Matsu, who doesn't mind the hustle and bustle, wants to see who Satomiko will ultimately choose. Is it Matsuda Seihei, who fell in love at first sight, or Takagi Shigeru, who has been in love with him for a long time? Looking at it now, it seems that the enemy from heaven is just an official match. Fortunately, Aoki Matsu didn't want to be a third party in the past, so he didn't have too many feelings. At this moment, Takagi touched his stomach and said with a silly smile, "It's already noon. I've been busy all morning and I'm hungry. How about we go eat first and chat later?" From the first glance at Matsuda Junpei, Takagi no longer liked this man who looked somewhat similar to him. His intelligence, confidence, and ease made him even more cowardly and foolish. Especially Takagi looked at Mito Sato, who still liked her, which made Takagi dislike her even more. Same-sex repulsion. Seeing Aoki Matsu mention each other in front of Satomiko, Takagi quickly found a topic to divert the conversation. "Okay, Aoki, let's go to the cafeteria at noon," said Officer Momo. To prevent the need for police in the afternoon and avoid drinking alcohol at noon, the natural staff canteen is the best choice. "I have no problem," said Aoki Matsu obediently. After buying food vouchers and preparing the meals, the four of them sat at a table and started eating. Satomiko is an extroverted person who eats while laughing and says, "I thought Aoki-jun was going to be a detective like Mori-san, but I didn't expect you to choose to be a criminal. This world-renowned detective is much stronger than a criminal. Not only does he have commission fees that can easily reach millions, and he can enter and exit the upper echelons of society, but he is also not subject to many constraints. Of course, the premise is that you have to be a detective. If you're just a detective, it's not as good as a criminal case where you can protect yourself from drought and flood." Aoki Matsushita smiled and said, "I am different from Mr. Kudo. I always believe that even if a famous detective is famous, he only has one person. How many cases can he solve? Criminal law is a big collective, and becoming a criminal can solve more people's cases and help more people. The profession of detective has not been recognized by the country, and I do not dislike detectives. Famous detectives like Uncle Mori and Mr. Kudo are indeed powerful and can help many people. But calling it the savior of the police station is too exaggerated. Besides, although they have helped many people and solved many cases. But I think they unintentionally set a bad example because the media promotes detectives, which leads to many people wanting to be detectives. Even among detectives, there is a mix of good and bad, just like what I encountered during my trip to Shikoku last year. Some people want to become detectives because the media excessively promotes detectives, and they are praised by others. They have no respect for the case or other people's lives, and only have the idea of showing off on their own at this moment. Takagi continued, "Is it the case of the Lavender Villa?" Although it was a coincidence, that person named Shujin Runya did indeed want to stand out more than investigate and find the truth. I heard that he took the initiative to seek media exposure before the case was resolved. Unexpectedly, Aoki-jun overturned his reasoning, but he did make a name for himself later on. But that's not the kind of hype that Shujin Runzai wants at all. Aoki Matsu's words deeply touched the criminal heart of Officer Mu, and when he heard Takagi mention Shujin Runya, he couldn't help but think of some things. With a calm face, he said, "As far as I know, after this matter was exposed by the media, someone investigated the cases that Shujin Runya had previously solved and discovered several wrongful and false cases. One of the cases, due to being wrongly accused, caused the elderly and sick father of the other party to think that his son had really made a big mistake and was angry to death." Aoki Matsu sighed upon hearing the words, "That's why I want to become a criminal. It's not because of saving my life." After a pause, Chingmu Song asked again, "Police department, what was going on behind Jin Runzai at that time? Do you know?" Officer Mu shook his head and said, "I only heard that he was dropped out of school and got into a lawsuit because of this. I don't know what will happen next. Shizu Runzai's place of residence and daily activities are not in Tokyo, so Officer Momo naturally doesn't know what the other person's current situation is. This is also his deserved crime, Satomiko said with a strong sense of justice. If he does something wrong, he will be punished. He uses the case as a joke and a tool to make a name for himself. He has no reverence for life, and accidents will happen sooner or later. After all, this is a world where a word of disagreement can lead to murder. Even if there is no Ekizuki Sekigawa, there will still be others for the careless behavior of Shujin Runzai. But now I think the girl from Ueshiue should not have taken the wrong path. Aoki Matsu will come to stop this matter, on the one hand because he has a deep impression of it, and he is indeed very regretful about it. Two very good people, because one careless person has gone on an irreversible path, it is really regrettable. Secondly, it is also to increase the chances of becoming a criminal. Although Aoki Matsu has a special exam in his lifetime, he doesn't have a 100% chance of passing the Neon Official Ape Class 1 exam, and even if he does, he may not necessarily be assigned to the command of Officer Momo. So it is necessary to use external tactics to increase the chance of becoming a subordinate of Officer Mumu. Then Aoki Matsu discovered that in this world, if a detective wants to become a criminal, it can be much simpler than the average person. He can take a pass in the exam, and there is even a chance that he will be directly admitted without passing the pass. So he dug out and solved the cases he remembered, which he could have solved in advance, and packaged himself as a high school detective. Including the Childhood Shadow Rice Flower Library Director's Collection Ice Case, the Moon Shadow Island Aso Narumi Case, the Mermaid Island Bag Junhui Mother Murder Case, the Lavender Case where a friend of Ekizuki Sakichi was forced to commit suicide case, Matsuda Masahiro was bombed for the safety of 12 million citizens in Tokyo case, the Childhood Shadow Blue Castle Plastic Surgery Old Lady Case. Kudo Shinichi's neighbor accidentally killed his father and his son was detained by his mother case. It has been proven that putting in so much effort is very effective. He just took the Neon Official Ape Class 1 exam, and when he told Officer Mu about this news, he immediately informed the higher-ups and the police academy in advance. After completing the training course, Aoki Matsu successfully became a member of the Mu police officers team, and his life was guaranteed. If he followed the normal process, he would probably have to intern in a civilian department like the Search 1 Lesson 1 department for a period of time, just like Shiratori Renzaburo. After understanding the criminal work content, he would be transferred to the 3 department for on-site internship. This is a waste of time. P.S. The cases I mentioned are all too famous. They are all fan fiction novels that I can write, so I couldn't come up with any new ideas, so I just picked them out. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Content with only one sentence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Content with only one sentence. That's right. Takashi immediately agreed to Satomiko's words. There is a certain feeling of women singing along with their husbands. The few present had no good impression of those irresponsible detectives, so naturally no one refuted Satomiko's words. As he was speaking, a young police officer hurriedly ran over and saluted the Mu Police Department, then eagerly said, "Mu Police Department, Minister Oda Katsuke wants you to attend the emergency meeting immediately." Upon hearing this, the Mu Police Department's face immediately became heavy and did not ask what had happened. Instead, they immediately stood up and said, "Let's go, lead the way ahead." Minister Oda Katsuhiro refers to Minister Oda Katsuhiro of the Criminal Affairs Department of the Metropolitan Police Department, belonging to a high-ranking official among police officers. He also has a criminal affairs counselor, section chief, and management officer below him. Therefore, ordinary cases cannot alarm him, and any case that alarms him is not a small one. Watching the Mu police quickly leave, Satomiko also said with a gloomy face, "It seems that something big has happened. Let's finish our meal quickly and return to the office to wait for arrangements." The Mu Police Department has been called, which also means that the 3 departments involved in the investigation will be arranged to participate in the case. I'm afraid we won't have time today. Okay. Aoki Matsu and Takashi followed Sato Miko's instructions, finished their lunch in a few bites, and hurriedly returned to the office of the first class and 3 departments to search for the tasks that were about to be assigned. After waiting for about half an hour, Officer Mumu returned with a serious expression on his face. Immediately convene an emergency meeting for the search of the first class and 3 departments. According to reliable sources from the Metropolitan Police Department, the Italian bandit organization that recently committed a crime overseas and stole 15,000 maple leaf coins fled to Tokyo and found their whereabouts near the Tokyo Tower. Minister Oda requested us to conduct an investigation near the Tokyo Tower in plain clothes. All of us were secretly carrying handguns, and everyone must be careful. There were 4 people in total who had guns in their hands. The Mumu Police Department briefly explained the matter. Aoki Pine raised his eyebrows at the words. Speaking of Chow Chow, Chow Chow is here. This case has already begun. Isn't this case supposed to be taken over by the International Search Class? Someone whispered. Neon has established a specialized department for international organized crime, and the search lesson is obviously aimed at domestic crime within Neon. Officer Mu glared at the other party, but still explained, there are not enough personnel in the International Search Class, and many people are famous internationally. The other party said they may not be able to recognize them. They are not suitable to investigate in secret, and Minister Oda has dealt with us with this important task. This is Minister Oda's trust in us, and it is also a good opportunity for us to make contributions. If we recover the stolen goods, we will also receive bonuses. Let's all cheer. Officer Mu drew a big cake for everyone. Nowadays, the International Search Course is still under the jurisdiction of the Criminal Investigation Department and has not been assigned to the Organized Crime Response Department, which was merged and established in 2004. Therefore, as the Minister of the Criminal Investigation Department, Toshiro Oda can easily mobilize personnel from other departments of the Criminal Investigation Department for this case. Police Department, don't you have any other information? Aoki Matsu asked. At the moment, there is none. The other party only accidentally discovered the presence of an Italian bandit organization near the Tokyo Tower, but it can guarantee the authenticity of the intelligence, said Officer Mumu. Aoki Matsu said thoughtfully, we need to visit and investigate the Tokyo Tower one by one, but our actions must be very covert and not detected by the other party. That's right. Officer Mu affirmed Aoki Song's words and then began arranging the task. Because Aoki Matsu was working on his first day this time, Officer Momo was still worried that Aoki Matsu would not be able to transform from a detective to a powerful criminal immediately. Therefore, he did not assign him any other tasks, but instead arranged for him to stay with him and learn how to coordinate and arrange. The Mumu Police Department is not intentionally neglecting Aoki Matsu or not wanting to give him a chance to make great contributions, but sincerely teaching him. It should be noted that the career group is a key leadership team trained by the police department. For the career group, the most important thing is not how strong a single person is in solving cases, but how to coordinate the work arrangement of each department and even a department. However, although it is with the Mumu Police Department, we still need to go to the scene. Wearing hidden headphones and other equipment, everyone rushed to the Tokyo Tower. The area near the Tokyo Tower in the afternoon is still bustling, and many foreign tourists are taking photos to commemorate it. Aoki Matsu followed the Mumu Police Department on patrols, because the size of the Mumu Police Department was quite obvious, and he often appeared in the news media, so the two of them were visible people, and their patrols seemed very casual. And secretly, Mito Sato and others have dispersed around the Tokyo Tower and started investigating everywhere. I don't know if it was luck or if it wasn't Conan's aura of death that forced him to lower his intelligence. Shortly after, while searching for the lucky one in the 1 Lesson 3 series, Takagi discovered the trace of Italian bandit organization leader Tino Cabana in a very rare shop with surveillance cameras in this era. Then, the criminals from the 3 departments of the first lesson were searched and found Tino Kabana's temporary residence, just like a divine aid, in a building near the Tokyo Tower. For criminals like this who clearly have guns in their hands and have a considerable number of people, it is not possible to directly let plainclothes criminals from the 3 departments of the search class arrest the criminals. If anyone sacrifices as a result, it will be a loss for the police department. Therefore, when capturing such criminals, they choose to let fully armed SIT teams go. Faced with the fully armed SIT team, with only one person in the room and no fighting ability, Tino Kabana simply put down his gun and was caught. The next step is to search for Tino Kabana's temporary residence, interrogate the whereabouts of Tino Kabana and his accomplices, as well as the whereabouts of 15,000 maple leaf gold coins worth 600 million yen that were looted. But they didn't get any clues. Nothing was found at the landing site, and Tino Kabana remained silent without saying anything. Busy until late at night, seeing that we couldn't find any clues and couldn't pry open Tino Kabana's mouth for a while, Minister Odachi let everyone go back to rest for a night, and continued the investigation and interrogation the next day. After greeting the Moo Police Department and others, Aoki Pine returned home exhausted. When watching cartoons, Conan usually takes a few minutes to solve the case, but after the cartoons become a reality, they are not that simple and easy. This is just a prelude to the animation, with only one sentence in the content, not even the prelude. However, the criminals have been busy all afternoon and evening because the other party has a gun, and everyone's nerves have been tense and not willing to relax at all. Where is there a simple and easy way to solve a case like Conan, who can divide it into 3, 5, and 2? It can't help but make people feel that reality and ideals are really two different things. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Kush Shwa or Luck. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Kush Shwa or Luck. The next day, Aoki Matsu arrived at the police station and eagerly inquired about the progress of the case. I don't know if the police officers from the police station are too useless, or if there is a mysterious force that prevents them from exploring the truth. Anyway, it's the police officers who stayed up late last night who haven't found any new information. By noon, the interrogation room still did not allow Tino Kabana to speak. At this moment, Aoki Matsu approached Officer Momo and said, "Police Department, waiting like this is not a solution. I want to go to the Tokyo Tower to investigate again." Upon hearing this, Officer Mu frowned and said, "We have apprehended Tino Kabana near the Tokyo Tower." This morning, the TV station also broadcasted relevant news. His accomplices may have already learned of this news and fled. What can you investigate now? Instead, it was a waste of police force. This speculation is very reasonable. After all, only fools stay in place, waiting to be caught. Police Department, you're right. No one would be that foolish. But since the other person is hiding alone in the building, whether it's the room he lives in or the visits and investigations around him, he's the only one who hasn't found any traces of his accomplice. I think there may be another possibility, said Aoki Matsu, who had long thought of an answer to this without waiting for the Moo Police Department to inquire. Aoki Matsu directly said the answer, that's Tino Kabana who wanted to swallow a maple leaf gold coin worth 600 million, and that's why he fell on the order. If this is the case, the other party's accomplices may go near the Tokyo Tower to check some unique internal codes that the police may not know about themselves. Your speculation also makes some sense, the Moo Police Department thought for a moment and said, so, I'll arrange for Chi-Teng to go with you. Okay. Officer Momo immediately called to search for Saito criminal in the 3rd department of the first lesson, explained the situation to the other party, and then asked him to follow Aoki Matsu on a trip. Saito criminal is not very old, looks very young and fashionable, and is also a member of the Satomiko Absolute Defense Line. Sitting in Aoki Matsu's car, Saito criminal asked the truth, Aoki Matsu, what should I do when I get to the Tokyo Tower? Visit and investigate nearby shops to see if there were anyone who specifically inquired about Tino Cabana's arrest by our police. Aoki Matsu said while driving, although the probability of this happening is very small, it is not impossible. The news from the violent group's countermeasures class does not show the whereabouts of the maple leaf coins, indicating that the stolen goods have not been sold yet. If it were as I speculated, the remaining three would definitely not be willing to let Tino Cabana embezzle the maple leaf gold coin worth 600 million. If the other party dares to commit a robbery case, it shows that they are not afraid. So it is not impossible for them to take the risk of returning to the vicinity of the Tokyo Tower to search for clues. Of course, the premise for all of this is that Tino Cabana wants to monopolize the gold coins. This is just a guess based on the other party's actions, and it may not necessarily be right. Of course, knowing the original work of Aoki Pine can confidently say that this is right. But Saito Criminal did not know. However, in handling cases, it's like this. You need to imagine, come up with all the possibilities, and then investigate and determine one by one. This is the typical case handling process for police officers, without the luck of a single hit like Conan. They may take many detours to find the correct answer, even in cases where there has been no answer. Therefore, Saito Criminal is not surprised by Aoki Matsu's actions. I don't know if he has gained the favor of the goddess of luck in the dark. Aoki Matsu parked the car and walked out of the parking lot. Facing him, he saw Conan and his friends running excitedly to the bottom of the Tokyo Tower, holding only a piece of paper and looking around. This is really challenging. However, as a senior scientist, Aoki Matsu was neither surprised nor pleased. Instead, he took Saito Criminal, who was looking around to investigate from which shop, to a nearby store to hide. Aoki-san. Saito Criminal asked in a confused low voice. Aoki Matsu made a silent gesture, then tilted his head carefully and leaned out. Not long after, he found the remaining three members of the Italian bandit organization behind the four little ones. After all, two of them were foreigners, which was quite obvious. After determining the person, Aoki Matsu retracted his head and whispered to Saito Shigeru, who was trying to peek over Aoki Matsu and look outside, I just found the traces of the remaining three people. Seriously? Saito Criminal was shocked at the words. Is this a blind cat touching a dead mouse, or is it a lucky goddess directly reaching out to touch Aoki Matsu? Aoki-san gave up his seat and said to Saito Criminal. Look under the Tokyo Tower, near 3 men and 1 woman and 4 children, there are 3 people wearing black clothes and sunglasses. If I remember correctly, the figure of the remaining 3 people is the same as that of the 3 people outside. It can't be a coincidence. How could there be such a coincidence? Saito Criminal stood up to the position where Aoki Matsu had just stood, half believing and half doubting. He looked through the glass and quickly found the figures described by Aoki Matsu, followed by a shock all over his body. It's really the same body shape as the 3 escaped fish. As for the face, there's no way to see each other wearing sunglasses. But this characteristic is already enough to suspect the other party. Turning back, Saito Criminal suppressed his inner joy and said, what should we do now with Aoki-san? Contact the Mumu Police Department immediately and ask for his instructions, instructed Aoki Matsu. Upon hearing this, Saito Criminal immediately ran to the nearby cash register to discuss with the cashier and borrowed the landline phone number from the shop to call the Mumu Police Department. Who can't make a mobile phone still a luxury item nowadays? Most people can't afford it, let alone use it. Fortunately, when looking for a job in a neon store, you must have a landline number. There are also many telephone halls in the city, so it is still very convenient to contact the police station in the city. After hearing the report from Saito Criminal, the Mumu Police Department immediately reported it to Minister Oda. Upon receiving instructions, they quickly rushed to the Tokyo Tower with a group of plainclothes criminals. At this moment, Conan and his friends were brainstorming to guess what the contents of the treasure map were. Among the other three little ones, only Guanyan is a bit clever, while the other two are not very intelligent. So I didn't even hear Conan's initial joking speculations, and I really believed Conan's nonsense. Then the lingerie shops near the Tokyo Tower were in a big mess, and I was only messed up by the four little ones once. However, this is cheaper for the two members of Aoki Pine. Xiao only runs nearby with a small range of activities, and the three members of the bandit organization monitoring them also have a small range of activities. In this way, Aoki Matsu and his companions monitored them from behind, making it much easier. P.S. In the 358th episode of Detective Conan, Criminal Love Story 5 of this department, previous part, many criminals who forcibly committed the crime of searching for the third series in the first lesson were introduced, all of whom had surnames. So there are not only 4 people searching for a lesson in the 3 departments, including Shiratori, Sato, Takagi, and Chiba. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Arrest. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. Arrest. Not long after, the Moo Moo Police Department and others rushed over. Next is the highlight moment of the Moo Moo Police Department. Although his mind may not be as fast as Detective Conan and others, he is skilled in commanding and searching the criminals of the 3 departments to arrest criminals. The arrest plan was quickly finalized. Then, while the other party was putting all their energy into the 4 little ones, they pretended to be tourists and passers-by and slowly approached the criminal offense of the 3, and suddenly erupted into a riot at a certain distance. By adding men to each other and using left and right as men, when Conan's 4 little ones were stunned and completely unresponsive, they were captured as if with divine assistance. Seeing the 3 people being arrested and hiding behind their backs, the prominent figure of the Moo Moo Police Department walked over with Aoki Matsu. "Police, we have found firearms on the 3 of them," Takagi said with a handkerchief and a handgun. "Okay," said the Moo Moo Police Department happily, "even if the other party may not be the remaining 3 members of the Italian bandit organization, just because they have guns on their bodies, the Moo Moo Police Department has a legitimate reason to arrest them and is not afraid of causing trouble. After all, neon lights are a country that prohibits guns. These 3 people are firmly convicted of illegal gun possession." After Aoki Matsu walked over, he didn't focus on the 3 criminals, but instead looked at the 4 little ones beside him who were stunned. Seeing Conan also looking bewildered and somewhat confused about the situation, he chuckled inwardly and walked over to touch Conan's dog head, asking in the most sincere tone, "Conan, and these 3 children, were you scared just now? Don't be afraid, the police guys have already arrested the bad guys, it's okay." Not to mention Conan, a fake child, the other 3 are notorious nerve-wrappers. Even if they encounter a murder case, they will panic for a moment and then come back to life full of blood to continue reasoning. To be honest, they were busy searching for the treasure before and didn't even notice someone following behind them. Even if I was really scared just now, I was also scared by the actions of the criminals capturing the criminals. A few strong men together, it was quite scary. Aoki Matsu's words were just a joke about Conan, a fake child, and of course, no one knew except for him. On the surface, comforting frightened citizens is also what police officers should do afterwards. However, the frightened citizens this time are somewhat special. After being rubbed by Aoki Matsu, Conan regained his senses and couldn't believe that he had been followed by someone, but he didn't notice it at all. He didn't believe this fact, so he said with a sense of luck, "Aoki brother, are these 3 uncles bad people?" "Yeah. If it's not bad people, what are we doing to catch them?" Aoki Matsu said with a smile. What Conan wanted was the words Aoki Matsu. Upon hearing them, he immediately asked desperately, "So what mistake did they make?" Upon hearing Conan's words, Aoki Matsu's expression became a little serious. "So, first tell me, what were you doing with a small piece of paper just now?" Conan's eyes widened upon hearing the words, and Aoki Matsu's words gave him a very bad premonition. With such a stunned effort, the three little ones next to us eagerly answered, we obtained a treasure map before, and just now we have truly searched for the treasure according to the clues on the map. Aoki Matsu pretended to be surprised when he heard this, and then smiled and said, "Can I take a look at the treasure map you have obtained?" This statement alerted Yuan Tai, who always pays attention to some strange aspects. Now it's the same. Upon hearing Qingmu Song's words, Yuan Tai immediately became more vigilant and looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze. "Brother, are you trying to trick us into obtaining the treasure map in our hands and then finding it to swallow alone?" Upon hearing this, Aoki Matsu couldn't help but laugh and cry. If he wanted to swallow this treasure alone, why would he have to take the treasure map from the four little ones? After arresting Tino Cabana yesterday, he could secretly go and retrieve it after work. The three of them are members of the fleeing Italian bandit organization. When I followed them before, I found out they were tracking you. Aoki Matsu looked at Sishiao and said, "I used to wonder why they wanted to track you. Now it seems that the treasure map you found should be the location where they hid the stolen goods they stole before." "Ah, that doesn't mean we won't get the treasure anymore," Bumei said lazily. Guanyan also sighed and said, "There's no way. Let's not say we haven't found the treasure yet. Even if we do, the treasure is stolen goods. After the case is closed, it will be returned to the owner." "Ah." The three little ones all sighed together. Although San Shao only sometimes has various pitfalls, he can still handle such matters clearly. Of course, the most crucial thing is that they have not yet found the treasure, there is no physical impact, and it is easy to part with. "Can you show me the treasure map now?" Aoki Matsu said gently as he looked at Conan. Faced with the gaze of Aoki Matsu, Conan pouted slightly displeased and took the treasure map out of his pocket, then handed it to Aoki Matsu. He was unhappy that he was being followed by three bad guys and didn't notice them. The second is that I am not satisfied with the feeling of being stopped halfway through the treasure hunt, which is really frustrating. Qingmu Song takes the treasure map and looks at it, which is exactly the same as in his memory. At this moment, the Mu Police Department also gave orders for other matters and walked over. "Aoki Jun, are the children okay?" "It's okay." Aoki Matsu continued his conversation with Sishiao and told the Mu Police Department, then smiled and said with a treasure map, "Police Department, look here. There are 3 English letters Oro written next to this symbol, which is not a word in English. But I remember in Italian, this word represents gold. It seems that my previous reasoning was not wrong." Tino Cabana was really prepared to swallow the 15,000 maple leaf coins alone. This note is probably the secret code he wrote for fear of forgetting his treasure location. Upon hearing this, the Mu Police Department was shocked and said, "Have you seen through this secret code, Aoki Jun?" Aoki Matsu met the expectant gaze of the Mu Police Department and smiled apologetically, "I'm sorry, Police Department. I haven't cracked these codes yet." "It's okay, you have a good idea." Although the Mu Police Department was somewhat disappointed upon hearing this, they still encouraged. "I will work hard." After a pause, Aoki Matsu pointed to the top symbol and said, "Although I haven't cracked this code yet, the first one drawn on it is the appearance of the tower. I think it should be related to the Tokyo Tower." Upon hearing this, Officer Mu immediately said, "Then you and Saito, and Takagi will stay here, and I will escort the prisoner back to the police station." "Okay. P.S. I didn't update yesterday because everyone was scared to death. After signing the book, I couldn't find my ID card. I thought my ID card was lost and searched for it all day. Finally, it was discovered that the mouse pad had been pressed down, causing a false alarm and groaning." End of this chapter. There is something on chapter 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There is something on chapter 10. After seeing off the police department and others, Sato Miko looked at Aoki Matsu and asked, "Aoki, what should we do now?" Aoki Matsu looked at the 4 little ones and said with a smile, "I don't know when I can break the code. Besides, it's not easy to take care of the children. Could you please take these 4 children home with Gao Muzang and inform their parents of the situation? If there is a nightmare at night, it won't be good. Influenced by the culture of flower growers, Neon also has a folk saying in this regard. Children's lack of enthusiasm can easily get contaminated with unclean things. It's okay. After Takagi and I finished seeing off these children, we'll contact you. Sato Miko nodded and agreed just as Sato Mizuko was about to invite Shikoku back home with her. Bume looked at Aoki Matsu and the others with eager faces and said, "Big brother, big sister, we don't want any treasure anymore. Can you let us go treasure hunting together?" "No way." Aoki Matsuki said solemnly, "It's already getting late, and I don't know when the secret code will be cracked. Moreover, this secret code may not necessarily be a real treasure map, or it may have been deliberately drawn by the other party to deceive others. It's unclear whether it's true or false, and I don't know when we'll find out. You still have to go to school tomorrow, so you can't play outside for too long." After finishing speaking, Aoki Matsu ignored the expression on Shikoku's face and said to Sato Miko and Takashi, "Could you please?" He wouldn't let Conan have a moment to pretend in front of him, because Aoki Matsu is still somewhat ambitious and wants to climb higher in the police station. If Conan repeatedly solves cases like the Moo Moo Police Department, it can't be considered his actual achievement, then how can he get promoted? This world is different from the neon sign of the previous life, perhaps due to the high crime rate in many cases. Whether it is the career group, quasi-career group, or non-career group, there are certain hard targets for solving cases and achieving success in order to be promoted. That's also why Shiratori Renzaburo was promoted to the police department at the age of 28, despite being a member of the career team. It was because he had previously worked as a civil servant and did not have the opportunity to make outstanding contributions in solving cases. He was only promoted after he was transferred to the investigation department and achieved remarkable results in solving cases. Of course, Aoki Matsu is not a brainless person. He is not the kind of person who deliberately releases the killer just to get promoted. If there is such a particularly difficult case that he doesn't know the original work and is not confident in solving it, then he must have kept Conan as a tool for solving the case. However, as an old scholar, Aoki Matsu still remembers many cases in his mind, and some cases are not difficult. He only needs to be careful to solve them. For example, if a prisoner voluntarily sends evidence to demand a hammer, then Conan is not needed. Okay, Sato Miko smiled slightly and then beckoned Shikoku to leave. Although Shikiajiu was very unwilling, and Conan was also unwilling, he was still forcefully pulled away by Mito Sato. After a few people left, Aoki Matsu smiled and asked Saito Criminal, "Saito-sang, take a look at this treasure map." Okay, Saito Shigeru took the treasure map and scratched his head to express his opinion. Except for the first pattern, which is clearly a tower that reminds me of the Tokyo Tower, there is nothing else I don't understand. This secret code is somewhat like an umbrella, this one is like the moon, and this triangle is quite common. I have no idea what it is. Aoki Matsu thought for a moment and said, "Tino Kabana was arrested near the Tokyo Tower. If my previous reasoning is correct, he should have wanted to swallow maple leaf coins alone, but we didn't find him in his temporary residence before. Not in the room, that must have been hidden. Based on his situation at the time, it was impossible for him to hide the maple leaf coins far away." Saito Criminal frowned upon hearing this and said, "If it's around here, where people come and go, it's not very safe. This is the Tokyo Tower, which can be said to be the most popular tourist attraction in the entire Tokyo, even the neon lights, and there is no one like it. Hiding things in such a place is not a wise choice, it is easy to be discovered." Aoki Matsu shook his head and said, "You misunderstood what I meant. It's natural that there can't be anything hidden here at the Tokyo Tower, but what about the tall buildings near here? There are usually no people going to the rooftop. So many floors." Saito Criminal exclaimed. "If we search for them one by one, the workload would be too heavy." "Of course not, there must be some uniformity in these codes, but some are very unusual. When applied near the Tokyo Tower, I only thought of one thing, said Aoki Matsu. What is it? Saito criminal urgently asked. Aoki Matsu pointed to the sign of the nearby shop and said, those shop signs are all kinds of, including umbrella-shaped, triangular-shaped, and 5-pointed star-shaped ones. Upon hearing this, Saito criminal's eyes lit up and he said, yes, I didn't expect it. This code marked with Oro is the location of the treasure, and we just need to find the store sign corresponding to this code icon. Hee, if it weren't for the original spoilers, ghosts would have thought of these things. Aoki Song murmured silently in his heart that no normal person would think of the shop sign. Let's go find it now. Saito criminal happily said. Aoki Matsu said, wait a minute, look at this sign of the moon. It should represent night. At night, the signs of these shops will light up, which will be slightly different from during the day. We are waiting for a while, waiting for the lights to light up before looking. Okay. After waiting for a while, the sky darkened and neon lights lit up the Tokyo Tower and surrounding shops. Aoki Matsushita led Saito Shigeru to the Moon Road and began searching. Soon, he found a shop sign that resembled a secret code graphic. Then I followed the way and searched all the way down. Very smooth. It should be there. Saito criminal pointed to the hotel sign of the Sakura Ghost Hotel, which was flickering with lights, and said, I remember the top floor of that building was like a bell and drum tower. It should be over there, let's go up and take a look, said Chin Musong. Then the two took the elevator to the top floor, and climbed several more stairs before reaching the top. But as soon as Chi-Ting came up, his eyebrows furrowed. This doesn't seem like a place to hide things, he said. The top floor is somewhat spacious, although there are several boxes stacked together, it is too deliberate and not a good place to hide things. Aoki Matsu looked around and took a few steps back when he was facing the bridge. When he reached the eye of the street lamp that could be seen as a fish, he looked up and pointed his finger at it, saying, there's something up there. End of this chapter.